right, lovely friends, welcome back. We are continuing in our series with this one right here. You don't know, now you know, okay? So we've been doing this series called Fervent, and we are continuing to make our way through the book. If you haven't, per usual, it's never too late, okay, to get the book. So diving right in, okay. This week we are in chapter 6. Chapter 6 talks about fear. And I know this all too well, okay? I know fear all too well. All right, so the subcaption or subtitle is Confronting Your Worries, Claiming Your Calling. And so she starts out talking about this friend named Shauna. And let me just tell you, Shauna may as well be Shell. Okay? Ooh, that rhymes. Bars. So let me tell you some of the ways that she described Shauna. And if anybody knows me, they'd be like, true. Highly accomplished, highly intelligent mother, adept at managing a full household, dynamic, outspoken believer, trains hardcore for marathons. That ain't me yet. Full of energy, but with tenderness too. A knack for giving people spot on insights about their deepest needs and toughest questions. She's a licensed counselor who runs her own business. People get sent to her when they've just kind of hit a dead end. Best in her field. Type A, type A, type A. And so she goes on to talk about or describe this scene where they're in the car taking this trip, and Shauna is talking about being fearful of kind of stepping out, leaving her 9 to 5, and becoming an author, writing this book that she felt like God had really placed in her heart. Her husband had given her the go ahead and said, do it, we got you. And she was just really afraid of fear. I can too be paralyzed by fear. Fear is defined as an unpleasant feeling triggered by the perception of danger, real or imagined. So, I've had so many meetings with my counselor where she describes faith and what it looks like to take that risk, and I'm like, that just sounds pretty irresponsible to me. She's like, wow, okay, faith sounds irresponsible. Interesting. So what fear is not is a legitimate concern. If you have a legitimate concern about something, that's not what we're talking about here. Feeling fear also does not equate to giving in to fear. So you can feel it, but not base your behavior on it, right? And so an unpleasant feeling triggered by the perception of danger, real or imagined. There are so many things that I can say about this. She said that we can especially be this way with things that don't come with clear step-by-step instructions on how to handle every possible hiccup or contingency. That would be me. So in my relationship with God, I've seen how I can just really be like, okay, God, tell me exactly what to do. I will execute your plan to a perfection. And so when there's any type of room for failure, count me out. Like I just want to know exactly what I need to do and excel at it. But of course, nothing about that is faith, because everything about faith is about what we can't see, not being able to have the perfect plan. And God is just really funny because in the one time in my life, or not necessarily the one time, but like in one huge area where I feel like, okay, execute this perfectly, check all the boxes, do it the right way, and you got this, it fails. And so I'm just like, okay, God is teaching me some really big lessons right now. And that really is about that. He's not just about he's not this checklist God. He's not this God that says, here, take this instruction manual and just do exactly what it says. Because even as Christians, we're not promised that, you know, doing everything by the book is always going to equate to our version of success. And it definitely hasn't for me. In a huge way, and I'll definitely be able to talk about that a little more in the future. She also talks about how fear not is mentioned in the Bible over 300 times, and one of those times is in the story of Moses and the children of Israel, where they're leaving Egypt. Pharaoh is coming behind them, right? He's on their tail. They get to the Red Sea. What do we do? Like, how do we cross this body of water? Clearly, they were going to feel fear because these people are coming behind us with every intent on doing us no good. That would invoke fear in anybody who ain't trying to commit suicide. And so, but what they were on the brink of is, hey, we can stop right here and give in to this fear that we feel and just say, hey, it's just over. Or we can heed Moses' instructions to fear not and see what God is going to do. And so that's the challenge. That's the call. That's the action from this chapter here is not that we don't feel fear. Is that we don't live our lives shaped by what we think may be the failures that we can encounter. I can too just be fearful of disapproval, so I don't necessarily say what I'm really thinking, or just kind of, you know, whatever, just move to this end of the spectrum where I just toss it to the side kind of thing. And so she mentioned, like, don't be afraid of following God down a path because you don't know what the cost may be or what it may entail. And I can tell you from experience that you're just not going to be able to account for every single thing that can happen. Trust me, tried it, didn't work. And I'm okay. I'm continuing to follow God on a journey. I'm learning from my mistakes. I'm learning more about myself. I'm seeing more clearly. To say okay doesn't mean that everything is kosher all the time, but it does mean that, like, I'm seeing God clearly, and I'm still trusting in God because, as I mentioned before, that's all I got. And so in a different video that I did, I talked about rocking the boat. Okay, I won't play the song this time, but it is this sense that, like, we've got to get out the boat. She talked about how when she mentions not being fearful, she's talking about clear instructions from God. We're not talking about, like, things that are clearly sinful, things that are clearly not good ideas, you know, that kind of thing. And so you're afraid, like, yeah, there's a reason you should be afraid in those circumstances. But we're talking about just being afraid of failure and not wanting to follow God because it seems too scary in this situation. So that would just be my encouragement, man. Do not allow yourself to live in fear and to just be consumed by it, but really take a look at these examples in the Bible where people have been radical, where people have stepped out on faith. And, you know, if your worst fears come to fruition, I can tell you it's not the end of the world, okay? We'll walk through that season. You can walk through that season with people and learn from your mistakes, figure out where you miss God, figure out what it is that He's trying to teach you, and get back up and try again, okay? So that's it for this lesson. I truly appreciate everyone who takes the time to listen in on these different lessons. The next subject that we're going to dive into is on purity, and I'm really excited about that one because I want to talk about just different ways that comes in, because I think that's always assumed to be a physical purity issue. So that'll be fun to dive into. But until next time, y'all know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, all of those different things. And